is how to find a horizontal asymptote. Now if you look in the book, there's a big long definition. I'm going to kind of summarize that definition. To start with, we have a function r of x is equal to the polynomial p over the polynomial q. And p and q are both polynomials. Now we're going to compare the degree of these two polynomials to figure out where our horizontal asymptotes are. So if the degree of p, and we're talking about degrees, if the degree of p is less than the degree of q, then the horizontal asymptote will be at y is equal to 0. If the degree of p is equal to the degree of q, then the horizontal asymptote will be equal to the leading coefficient of p, and we're going to call that a, over the leading coefficient of q, and we're going to call that b. And if the degree of p is greater than the degree of q, then there are no horizontal asymptotes. So let's go back and take a look at each one of these. First of all, for the first one, if we have p is less than q, degree of p is less than the degree of q. Let's say we have a function r of x is equal to 3x squared plus 2x plus 1 all over 4x cubed plus 2x squared minus 5. Now if you look at the degree of p, which is the top polynomial, it's 2. The degree of q is 3. So the degree of p is less than the degree of q, so the horizontal asymptote is at y is equal to 0. Now let's take a look at an example where the degrees are exactly the same. So if I say r of x is equal to 2x squared plus 3x minus 5 over 4x squared plus 5x minus 1. Now if you look at the degree here, it's 2. You look at the degree down here, it's also 2. So the degrees are exactly the same. Now I said where the leading coefficient of p divided by the leading coefficient of q. So the leading coefficient is the coefficient of the first term, if it's in standard form, so it's 2. Here the leading coefficient is 4. So y is equal to 2 divided by 4. So y is equal to 1/2. Now if I take a look at one more, I'm going to set r of x is equal to 4x cubed minus 5x squared plus 1 all over 2x squared minus 4x plus 5. The degree of the top polynomial p is 3. The degree of the bottom polynomial q is 2. So the degree of p is greater than the degree of q, so we have no horizontal asymptotes.